Welcome to episode number 23 of the Go For Two podcast. I am your host, Jackson Walls. I got my buddy, my friend, my pal, my good friend, my AFC Championship bound, Lucas Avert. How you doing, Lucas?
I'm fantastic, of course.
Oh, you should be. You
That
should be.
should be. That's right.
Because in that game that I just witnessed last week, I really didn't think that was going to happen. But you know what's crazy is we laid out that exact scenario on the podcast.
You know, I have been
2 days before it happened.
I have been referred to as a prophet before. Not gonna say who, but
an oracle,
yeah,
if you will.
I'm fine with either.
An
Interchangeable.
elder, a wise man.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucas, what we got this week? I think we got an action-packed episode, don't we?
Yeah. This should be a long one. So you're in for the long haul, or you just clicked off because you heard us say that it was going to be long.
Get comfy. If you're driving, all right, you might pull through, get you a little drink, okay,
and then set the cruise control.
Set the cruise control because we're gonna get it. Let's go.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff. Obviously, we got to talk about LSU, and then we got some clowns we got to talk about.
Oh, the clowns.
The playoff games that have happened, the ones we're about to have. There was some Hall of Fame stuff that went down this week.
For sure.
It should be a good time. And then, of course, take it or leave it, and some tweet, fun times.
I like the tweet, twiddles.
Right, but we need to, of course, start like we always do. All right, we got any comments or anything on our previous video? I believe we do.
We do. We got a couple from Mr. Casey Crawford. Casey is always coming through in the clutch. This time he left a selection, but I'm going to go ahead and read one here. He says, "Go Titans! Just because I wanted to see Lamar Jackson get his butt kicked, I can't stand Lamar Jackson running back as a quarterback." Your thoughts on that, Lucas? Before I read the second one.
I mean, we will discuss Lamar later a little bit more. But I mean, like, I feel you, man. The whole like running back as a quarterback thing, like he wants to be a quarterback and he's put up numbers that are suitable for a quarterback and whatnot, and he's obviously a running quarterback. He runs first. But yeah, we'll get into that. You know, we'll get into that more later. I think he's a little overrated. You know, but he is going to win the MVP. So you know.
Yeah, he is going to win the MVP. We have some disagreements on where we stand with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into it. Next thing that Mr. Casey says, he says, Jack, he's referring to Mike McCarthy here. Me and Lucas and me and Casey have some differences in opinions of head coach Mike McCarthy.
He says, nothing is suitable for Jackson.
Coach, and he has worked with some of the great quarterbacks like Brett Favre, Rodgers, and Joe Montana. Like, come on, bro. He's going to work with Dak and make Dak a Super Bowl quarterback. And when is the last time the Cowboys had a Super Bowl coach? Jones is letting him call plays and pick his staff. A young coach will take forever to win. We need to win now. Lucas, you are totally right, bro. Go McCarthy.
Boom. That's right. You know, I need to hear more of that on this pod. More of Lucas being right and Jackson being wrong, because it is a common narrative within our life. All right.
I mean, I definitely do lead in picks this year. So I am mathematically more right than you are.
That's just a 50-50 chances, all right? You're just luckier than I am.
I'll take it. I'll take the luck.
That's it.
We had a couple retirees, Mr. Lucas.
Oh, yeah. Some legends.
Yeah, big-time legends of the game. One of them was a big surprise. Luke Kuechly, linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. He's 28 years old, walking away from $10 million in salary next year. He is a 5-time first-team All-Pro, a 7-straight Pro Bowler. He finishes his career with over 1,000 tackles, 12.5 sacks, 18 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 67 passes defended, and a safety. He just said it was, kind of time to walk away from the game and wants to keep his health and wants to do other things and move on. So definitely a surprise, though. Kind of came out of left field out of nowhere, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, you gotta put him up there with, like him and Gronk, some people that kind of felt like kind of retired early.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson.
Megatron.
So some legends.
and some of it has to do with the whole CTE thing. You know, like the brain damage is a real big issue, and medical um, issues later on in life after you're retired. You know, even once you get to like 40, 50, 60 years old, it starts to really wear on you. Your body starts to
Yeah,
punish
football's
you back.
a rough sport, and there's a lot of contact and a lot of wear and tear, and the season's a grind. It's not like it's a full year grind to play football every year.
For sure.
So I fully understand. Yeah.
Definitely. Another retiree, another legend. After 16 years in the NFL, Antonio Gates is calling it quits, a lifetime, long time tight end for the San Diego and Los Angeles Chargers. Antonio Gates finishes with just under 1,000 receptions at 955, 11,841 yards. He averaged 12.4 yards a catch. So he averaged the first time every time he caught the football. 116 touchdowns, 8 Pro Bowls, and 3-time first team All Pro. Antonio Gates definitely will be missed and was a centerpiece for the Chargers organization for a long time.
That's wild. He's Hall of Fame,
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah, no
Absolutely.
shot he doesn't get in.
Yeah, that's nothing like having that security blanket at tight end. We saw
Right.
just how much Brady missed it this year. So
Um,
anyway,
you know who loved their tight end on Monday night? Mr. Joe Burrow.
he sure did.
Randy Moss's son is the tight end for LSU. I think that's awesome. He was actually there at the game.
Oh yeah, he was in full dad mode, celebrating and yelling on the sideline. It was great. It was something to watch, and what a game!
Yeah, so we got to talk about this a little bit. First off, congratulations to LSU, the Natty champs. All right,
Oh yeah, the perfect
winning
season.
it pretty much. What arguably like one of the best football teams, best seasons for a football team ever. Like
all time.
it's up there.
It's in the conversation.
I mean, like yeah.
Weren't they
right now I'm feeling number one, but we're coming fresh
you,
off of it, so
I bet you had the stat that you were going to read, but I know they were the first team ever in the college football landscape to beat the preseason number 1, number 2, 3, and number 4 teams.
I actually wasn't going to say that. I did know that, but I wasn't going to say that. But
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They beat the preseason top 4 teams.
They also beat like the winner of the ACC, and they won the SEC, and they beat like the winner of this division and this one and this conference and this
Texas,
and
Auburn, Georgia, Oklahoma.
Yeah, 7 top 10 teams.
Clemson. Yeah, just incredible
Wild.
year.
But first off, talk about the game, and then I want to talk about Joe Burrow, and then I've got some other stuff to get to, of course.
Sure.
But just first off, like initial thoughts on the game, Jackson. What you got?
I mean, it was kind of a back and forth game for quite a while, but eventually LSU just kind of pulled away at the end. They were just too much for Clemson to handle. I felt Clemson came out with a really good game plan.
It was
really
spooky.
good scripted first drive. Their defense had the momentum for the full first quarter, but eventually Joe Burrow broke through. They made some really great halftime adjustments, and the game was over by the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was really looking like a Clemson game to start off with, and then it was like, I believe Clemson was up 10-0, and then all of a sudden it's halftime, and LSU's going into the locker room, and they've got the lead, and it was just like, how did this happen?
And then it was back and forth for a while.
Well, just the only reason I say like, how did this happen? Is it just Clemson came out and looked so good? Like I said, it's 10-0, and then I think what happened is that number one, Joe Burrow putting it up with those wide receivers. Chase had a huge game.
Incredible deep threat accuracy.
Yes, he throws a very good ball, and I feel like he has such good pocket presence. His offensive line did a great job. I think they've been a little underrated. I've heard people not really talk about the offensive line, but I feel like they do a really good job. And then his wide receivers, NFL caliber, like they're gone.
Oh, for sure. One of them already declared for the draft. I can't remember his.
I think a couple of them actually did. But then as the game went on, I felt like it got to the point where Trevor Lawrence, like it became apparent he wasn't playing up to the quality that we probably expected of him. And so I think they just couldn't keep up. They couldn't
People are
keep
talking
up
about
with that.
him next year being, first pick overall in the draft when
I
he's able
mean,
to
we
come
don't.
out.
Yeah, well, we don't know what kind of
At
season
least
he's
that
going to
was
have
at
next
least that was
year.
the hype going into this season.
Oh yeah,
All I
for
heard
sure.
was how good Trevor Lawrence was, and how good he's going to be, and who's going to have the first pick in the 2021 draft, because that's the one that
Right.
means the most.
Well, up to this point, there's no other quarterback that's going to be available in the draft next year that has had the. I mean, Trevor Lawrence hasn't lost a game until Monday night,
Right.
and so, by
And
the
he
way,
lost it to one of the best teams ever. So I don't think this hurts his resume at all.
yeah, no, it definitely doesn't. It's Thursday night. It's January 16th for anyone that was wondering when
Yeah.
we were getting this. Just so when we get all of our information, y'all know if we're behind for some reason or whatnot.
Yeah, we'll be back to a normal schedule soon. It's just been crazy with the move, and
Right.
had to move around a couple things, but Lucas has been patient enough and stuck with me, so we're recording a Thursday night today.
Tough times out here, boys and gals. Hashtag don't give a. All right, we're for the boys, but
And
that
for the girls.
includes the girls. The girls are included in the boys. Don't ask me how that makes sense, but just know it does. All right.
Hashtag don't give a. Let's go.
That's right. But anyway, so all the respect in the world to the Clemson players and to the other LSU players, but we got to talk about Joe Burrow. All right. Do you think obvious number 1 overall pick for Cincinnati?
Presumptive, obvious. I mean, he was on set at ESPN about a week before the game, and he had a Cincinnati, like somebody gave him a Cincinnati Bengals helmet.
That's
Like,
awesome.
hey, you're gonna need this soon. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, like he didn't really say he couldn't really say much, but
Yeah.
Presumptive number 1 pick. Everybody's talking about him. I've heard comparisons to Joe Montana, Tony Romo, Andy Dalton of all people. I'm kind of curious where it was Colin Cowherd, and who was it? It was Colin Cowherd. He's like, yeah, he reminds me of like a in his prime, Andy Dalton, with Andy Dalton had AJ Green and 2 running backs and Marvin Jones and 2014 Bengals team. But
Good team.
yeah, I was just kind of curious, what does he remind you of any other quarterbacks?
In terms of, so when I look at him, I think Andrew Luck a lot, and that is because I feel like he seems like a good guy, number 1, and Andrew Luck was always nice, but just the way that he goes about things, how NFL ready he looks, really makes me think of a Stanford Andrew Luck. That is where he went, right? Yeah.
Stanford, you're right.
Yeah, and so that's the first name that comes to my mind is Andrew Luck, just because I think he's going to be great when it comes to being ready for the NFL, especially compared to some of these other quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Kyler Murray,
Yeah, and we'll see how Kyler Murray does in his second year, and Darnold started to look better towards the end of the season, but Baker obviously had a sophomore slump. But do you think Burrow starts right away if he goes to Cincinnati?
I would hope not.
Or do they stick with Andy Dalton for a year?
I mean, to me, you stick with Andy Dalton for another year.
Yeah.
But we all know that's not going to happen. They're going to lose for half the year, and then Joe Burrow will get thrown in, and we'll see what happens.
Especially with AJ Green, like if they decide to re-sign him, or if he just wants to go elsewhere and be a free agent,
I think he'll be gone.
I would not be surprised.
No, yeah. I think he'll be gone. But I feel like Burrow has amazing accuracy. Like he throws a very good ball.
That's going to make for an interesting division. Lamar Jackson, young quarterback. You bring in Burrow in a year or so, right? You will have a change of the guard. Would Ben Roethlisberger's done, right? Very soon.
You think the Duck's going to get that job?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm thinking they might. It just depends on how they do next year, man. You know what? They were decimated by injuries, and they were still close to the playoffs.
Yeah, hope they'll definitely have to. They'll have to find someone else. Tomlin's an amazing coach. Coach O with LSU did a great job. I felt like
100%. Coach O's cracking me up, just like hearing some of the stuff that he would say.
Right. So So just because of how great Joe Burrow has been, we don't know necessarily if all of it's him, if all of it's coaching, the other players on the team.
Probably a mix.
Yeah, but I do think Joe Burrow's had possibly top 3 or number 1 quarterback season in college.
Ever? Yeah.
So
It's definitely in the conversation.
yeah, just to
100%.
put this into perspective for some people, Burrow was 402 for 527, so he had a 76.3 completion percentage.
Wow.
All right. He threw 60 touchdowns. He rushed for 4 touchdowns. He had 5,600 passing yards.
Oh my gosh.
And he only threw 6 interceptions.
And think about this too. The college football season is shorter than the NFL season, significantly. What do they play? 13 games, then you have a national championship game?
I mean, it depends. I feel like on
games?
average it's like 12, and then you have
12 or so.
Yeah, they
so
went 14-0. So they had 12 games. Then you have 11 games. Then you have the conference championship, which is 12, and then you have your playoff games, which is 13 and 14.
Okay, so in 14 games, he threw for more passing yards and again, it's a different speed and it's a different time, and college is not.
Oh yeah, the games last longer and stuff
definitely
like that. But
yeah, but it's
and he had some really good pieces around him. So he broke records with his 60 passing touchdowns. That broke a record. 65 total touchdowns, broke a record. Second best completion percentage ever. He had the third most passing yards ever. Had over 6,000 total yards. Beat 7 top 10 teams. Won the Heisman and won the national championship.
What else do you want from a season? I mean, there's
unheard of. All right, I am here to give up our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round draft picks in order to get that number 1 pick. That would not happen.
I was gonna say, but you got Tannehill though, and he's taking you to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. I don't expect the Titans to draft quarterback, but that's for another day.
Sure.
But yeah, I just feel like we all have to sit back for a second and just be like, we just got to watch arguably the greatest college football season for a quarterback and his team in history.
Yeah,
it's up there.
Special.
Definitely up there.
That's crazy. Isn't there something with another LSU alumni you wanted to?
Yeah. I can't just talk through my stuff. Jackson has to do these like painfully cringy, obvious things here, to get me to move on, like he's in a hurry or something. Like we're not going to be here for 6 hours anyways.
Wouldn't that be something if we were here for 6 hours though?
Probably will be at the rate we're going right now. Anyways, so LSU is celebrating this awesome moment. They win the national championship, and then here comes OBJ, and he interrupted Coach O's interview at one point, and then he's on the field, and he's handing out money to players, and they're like, oh, it's just fake money. All right, so, okay, it's fake money. Well, then Joe Burrow reveals that it's not fake money, and that Odell was giving players real money. So LSU and the NCAA are investigating that right now. And then to top it all off, today, the judge signed an official warrant for the arrest of Odell Beckham Jr. for, I believe it is simple battery and assault, something like that, or simple assault. I read it earlier and was trying to pull it from my brain. Either way, there's a warrant out for this man's arrest.
Right,
because he slapped a cop on the butt.
Yeah.
He wasn't even really he was a security guard in the LSU locker room after they were celebrating. See, Jackson over here interrupted me. Won't even let me finish my sentence. Whew, God.
Look,
Casey, I'm going to need you to get this man. You need to get him and whip him into shape because he doesn't know what's going on here. No respect for other people that are trying to speak.
The whole... Doesn't that seem a bit excessive, though?
Well, look, here's my problem. Why? He does all this stuff, and I'm just like, Odell, you had more, NFL violations this year than you had touchdown catches, or even touchdowns in general. And so, there is a problem. There is a problem.
Yeah, obviously.
So I want to make a movement to officially induct Odell into the clown squad.
Oh, my Lord. into the clown squad. Here's the thing: Antonio Brown belongs in the clown squad. 100% definition
Odell
of clown.
Odell belongs in the clown squad.
I don't know about that.
He's wearing watches that he knows he can't wear. He's wearing
definitely a diva,
shoes
but
and
what do you
stuff that he
tell me all
knows
the
he can't
time, though?
wear.
'Cause
He's
every
getting
good
traded
NFL
to
receiver is a
teams
diva.
and all this stuff. No. Julio Jones is not a diva. DeAndre Hopkins is not a diva.
He's not, but this is what you tell me. You say that all good receivers are divas.
No, all the look. Jackson's putting words in my mouth. I don't appreciate this right now. All right? But anyways, he belongs in the clown squad. He's literally doing all this stuff. This is not his moment. He is not a player at LSU anymore. He's done all this other stuff to draw attention away from his team. He's been called a plague in the locker room. He's a noted locker room problem within your football team. And now he's going to LSU and he's causing problems for the whole school. The NCAA and the school are investigating this.
Yeah. Okay, number one.
And he's got a warrant out for his arrest because he can't just let the security guard go about his business that he was doing. I don't know what he was even doing. He was doing something. He was talking to another player or something, and he was looking at something, and Odell just has to hit him on the butt. Why? Why do you have to smack a cop? Like, when that video goes viral, you know that they're going to have to do something because they can't let, just because you're a big public figure, they can't let you do something like that. Because then they lose respect.
My problem with all of this is, it seems silly.
Clowns do silly stuff.
I don't know why Odell does all this stuff.
He's a clown.
He's okay, fine. If you want to call him a clown, he's a clown. There you go. However, what I have a problem with is the whole arrest warrant thing. I mean, really issuing an arrest warrant because he smacked a cop on the bottom. Who cares? Like that's the because kind of stuff that just looks like just to make the news, just to make some people talk about something.
See,
like it's gonna get dismissed. It's nothing serious. No one cares about it.
Right, but it's because you don't want people out on the streets to be thinking it's okay to walk up and do that. Like, it's because if you let something like that happen, it's going to get worse. You have to keep intact the respect that you're supposed to have for law enforcement and stuff. And I think that's why.
And what it's going to end up being is going to be some kind of...
It's a principle matter. It's a matter of principle.
I understand the principle, but I don't view it as a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
As a potentially big deal is the handing out of the money, just because the NCAA has very silly rules and regulations on what can, like, if you can give money to players and endorsements and unfair.
Here's what I want to know.
I'm getting unfair things, but it's just like,
what happens if the NFL decides they want?
I don't care enough.
They want to put in, like, what happens if the NFL is like, it is not okay for us to have players acting like this on such a national, like, public view level. Like, you can't, like, what if I'll just say a fine. I can't think of what they would do. Yeah, and honestly, they probably won't. But let's say the NFL decides to fine him for doing that because the NFL is professional business and you are not supposed to act like that. Like, you're expected, it doesn't matter if it's fair or not, you're expected to be professional.
Of course the NFL is going to come out. He's going to get a slap on the wrist. He's going to get a plea bargain deal. He'll have to issue probably some kind of an apology. He's going to have to pay a fine to the city of New Orleans or whoever, and then we'll move on, and it'll be a discussion of, okay, yes, Odell, you can't do this because you can't set precedent, because you can't give that signal. I'm agreeing with you there. What I don't care enough about is that it's even a story. I don't care enough about OBJ smacking a security guard's rear end.
Well, we all know that you don't care about anything outside of the Dallas Cowboys.
I wonder why other people care about that kind of stuff. Like, why that's even a thing. I just
want him inducted into the clown squad. That's the only
induct him into the clown squad. But he does create problems for LSU, although those NCAA rules are completely ridiculous.
Right. I just feel like
they shouldn't exist in the first place. Like,
exactly.
If somebody wants to give him money, give him money.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to get changed, but that's topic for another day. But since we are talking about the clown squad, and we have officially agreed This is put this in ink. Anyone that wants to. All right, I'll write it down later.
In a chisel and cement, Lucas.
Yeah. All right. This is that level of importance. All right.
Oh yeah.
Clown Squad, Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown, who has made the news again. He's done it again, Jackson. We have talked about this man on like 12 podcast episodes.
And this is what is real. Here's the thing. OBJ doing his thing, whatever. Yeah, you shouldn't do that, OBJ. You're setting a bad example. Move on. Done. This Antonio Brown stuff is like, it's some serious things. I will,
by the way, sorry to interrupt you real quick. I will say, though, that AB started off with little stuff. I don't think OBJ is going to turn into Antonio Brown. But
no, of course
he is. Antonio Brown used to do this stuff. I'm just saying, he used to do this stuff. Like, OBJ is a little clown. Antonio Brown used to do little stuff, and then it just, like, through a series of events, it has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm saying, watch out on OBJ. If it happens, we will know that it is Antonio Brown's fault. He set the path. It's because they're both in the clown squad. They obviously talk to each other, and the craziness is rubbing off on them. Because something is wrong with Antonio Brown. So Jackson,
there has to be something like CTE or brain damage or something has to go on.
Right. So let me.
How much do the Steelers really keep quiet?
Well, number one, you cannot look at Ben Roethlisberger in any type of negative light at all now for that whole situation.
For anything to do with Antonio Brown, of course not. No, definitely not.
So just so everyone knows what happened with Antonio Brown, Jackson, please correct me or interject any if I'm incorrect about something or if I forget something. So apparently Antonio Brown is having some type of altercation with the mother of his children. All right.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it is. It was something to do with them needing to go to school. Anyways, so the cops are there, and the cops are getting the mother of his children and his kids. They're getting both. So Antonio Brown decides to pull out his phone and go to live stream on Twitter or Instagram or something. It doesn't matter. And he is streaming this scene to thousands and thousands of people. And all you see is the mother of his kids and his children getting into the back of a cop car. No one is saying anything to Antonio Brown. No one is even bothering this dude. I don't even know if they were looking at him. All right? And he is yelling completely obscene things. Yes, like he is calling the policemen names and stuff. He is pretty much antagonizing them.
Absolutely.
Almost like he wanted them to do something so he could catch them doing something.
Oh, yeah.
He's using the B word. He's all kinds of stuff. Then he's yelling at the mother of his kids with his children right there, getting into the cop car. And apparently he thinks this makes him look good. While he's calling the police, I think he even said cracker once. And so all this stuff, and they're not doing anything to him. And he's streaming it as if he's the good guy, I mean.
Yeah, he's streaming as if he's like the victim, or look what they're doing to me now.
Yeah.
Give me
and he's just yelling
remorse. Yeah. That's what he's trying to do.
No one feels bad for you for putting your children through that. Like that right there in itself.
The worst example.
Exactly. It's not okay to put your children through something like that. It's really not.
Of course.
Like, these are little kids. Go watch the video if you haven't. And they're getting in the back of a cop car.
Yeah.
While their dad is yelling at them and yelling at... Go ahead.
Yeah, in the middle of Antonio Brown yelling at the cops and dropping multiple F-bombs, dropping multiple N-bombs, and screaming at his...
Yeah, multiple curse words, all that stuff. He's saying all kinds of stuff.
In the middle of all that, one of the kids says, "I love you, Daddy," and he says, "I love you back." And then he just kept getting walked into the car. Like he's screaming the entire time, and there's no reason for it. And I want to say props to those cops though, because they held incredible restraint. Because they really could have cuffed him and put him in a car.
I was about to say, Stephen A. Smith brought it up. He was like, "You don't get to act like that towards cops. You don't get to act like that towards policemen because you can be arrested for that." But they didn't do anything to him because they probably knew that it would become negative on them. So by them just sitting there not doing anything, Antonio Brown looks even worse. And he's a clown. And he's the head of the clown squad.
Oh, absolutely undisputed king of the clown squad.
Yeah. And so now, to make it worse, after all this stuff has built up, now his agent has said that he will not work for him anymore, work with him, until Antonio Brown gets help. So this begs the question. Max Kellerman on First Take has been saying this for forever. He thinks that Antonio Brown has some health issues, some mental problems. Don't know if it's stuff from concussions in football and stuff. Considering he uses an old helmet that the NFL has proven doesn't work as efficiently as other ones that they want him to use, and he threw a big deal about that. I would say he must have he's got a couple of knots up there. All right.
But he has to, man. There's no way he could. This could be normal for him, and if it is normal, then wow, the Pittsburgh Steelers really did a good job of covering it up.
Really. So props.
Whether that's good or bad is not for me to say, but
right, amazing football player. Props to the Pittsburgh Steelers for putting up with that. Props to the policeman for putting up with that. The mother of his kids. So sorry to his children for having to deal with that, because Antonio Brown, it just seems like he's got little explosions all over the place.
For sure. And what's even worse is that there's going to be a couple of his Instagram followers that are going to sympathize with him and think he's in the right, and he just told them what he thinks is the right thing to do in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
And really sad.
Beyond sad.
So Antonio Brown's life is imploding before us. It's terrible to watch, just like the Houston Texans imploded against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoff game this past weekend. That was also terrible to watch. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Texans were up 24-0 against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs came back and beat them like 51-31, and Mahomes threw like 7 straight touchdowns and all that stuff. And it was just
it was a slaughter. They were down 24-0, and within 4 minutes of the left in the half, Mahomes had 4 scores.
Yeah, it was halftime. They were up like 28-24, I believe.
Yeah, and with 4 minutes left in the half, they were down 24-0.
Number one. So I don't know what reason you think they lost. My reason I think they lost is coaching. What you got? You agree?
I completely agree. Well, we talked about it before in the Houston and Buffalo game on how Bill O'Brien completely mismanaged going for it on 4th down and situational plays, and even his timeouts. Like, his game management skills were lacking in the playoffs, in our opinion, I think.
Of course.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, me and Jackson are not coaches, but we like to think we are.
Pretend to be one.
No,
well, we like to think we know.
We like to think we're smart football people.
Watch the game for a while. We could pick up on what's a bad move and what's not.
Well, that's the painful part, is that it was so obvious that we picked up on stuff.
Blatantly obvious.
So here's like a rundown of some stuff, okay? Yeah. So they're up. Houston's up 21-0. They decide to go for it because they're close to. They're on like the Chiefs, like 20 or 15 or 10, something in that area. All right, they're in the red zone basically. They're up there and they decide to go for it. In my head, I was like, kick a field goal here, take your points. Your defense is doing great. Your special teams is doing great. Everything's going your way. Go up 24-0. They decide to go for it. They get up there, and they can't run a play, and they have to call a timeout because Bill O'Brien's words were, I wanted to go for it there because I believed we had to score 50 points to beat the Chiefs. Number one, 50 points to beat the Chiefs obviously wasn't enough anyways. But that is just crazy to think that you need to score 50 points to win a football game. You obviously have no faith in your defense whatsoever.
None at all. Especially when you're up 21-0 at that point.
Especially when you're up 21-0. They go out there to go for it and then can't go for it. Because he said he did not have a play ready. They did not have a play ready to go for it.
That is, oh my gosh. I didn't know this, but now that you told me that makes it even like asinine of this coach to think like, okay, we got to score 50 points. And you don't think you're going to get into a 4th down situation, so you don't have plays ready?
He thought they got the first down. So he threw them out there. He threw them out there as if it was a 1st down, and then was like, oh no, it's 4th down. We don't have a play ready. Just go kick a field goal.
That's bad coaching right there.
How much do you lack awareness? Like I believe at this point Deshaun Watson was like, "What's going on?"
For real. Well, not even that. You got 15 members of staff up in the skybox telling you what's going on. You got like three different.
Yeah,
You got like
what's the headset for? What's the big
that's exactly what the
Megatrons
headset's for.
showing fourth down? Like what does all that stuff mean?
Or the chains right next to you as they're moving along. Card on the side. It says fourth down. You can swipe
Exactly.
it.
So then the next drive, Jackson. All right. So this is like they end up kicking the field goal, right? And then their defense stops Kansas City, and they get the ball, and I think it's like their first attempt to get a first down, or their second, right? Like they haven't moved far down the field. Anyways, it's fourth and whatever. It was like 4th and 3 or shorter, 4th and 1, something like that. They do a fake punt. Apparently, the special teams look to the sideline like, are we supposed to run this? Because the opposing team, the Chiefs, were lined up in a formation that was to go against it.
Yeah, they were ready for it.
And they were like, and one of the player on the field that gets the ball was like, no, we got this. Like, I don't know if he was thinking he could outrun him or something.
Yeah.
And then the white dude tackled him. To put it, I believe that's like Shannon Sharp or someone said that. He was like, and then the white dude got him. That's right. He tackled him. And then the Chiefs get the ball at like the 20. So they score a touchdown. And then...
not believe in your defense at all.
Exactly. I feel like that's bad coaching. So that's back-to-back bad coaching drives. Then your special teams has a problem again. And you go to receive the punt or something. I think it was a botched punt. Turns into a fumble for the Chiefs. The Chiefs get a short field again. Travis Kelce touchdown again. Well, then Kansas City's defense. Yeah, so it's 14-24, and Kansas City's defense is like, ooh. We're feeling it. We're feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. Momentum's completely flipped. And then Deshaun Watson and them can't score for the rest of the game. And Patrick Mahomes just goes out there and makes it 28-24 going into halftime. And then for the rest of the game, they were non-existent. I'm talking about Houston. Like, they were just non-existent on the field. Like, they were just like, what just happened? It was 24-0. What happened to us?
Yeah.
And it was painful to watch. Just implosion from within.
And the beat down just proceeded to happen. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't watch much of the third quarter. Then I watched the end.
Yeah, just a lot of Patrick Mahomes scoring.
Yeah. So do you have anything you would like to say to Texans fans to make them feel better about Bill O'Brien?
I would say it gets better, but it doesn't.
As long as you've got a bad coach, it stays bad.
Here's what's going to need to happen. You're going to need to go 8-8, okay? And you're going to need to lose to the Jaguars to make the playoffs. And the Jaguars are going to have a bunch of practice squad guys. And then and only then can they put you and your coach out of its misery, and you can then move on. Because I think the Texans are a really good head coach away from being in the AFC title game.
Don't have a first round draft pick for the next 2 years because of Bill O'Brien.
It feels real bad. It feels real bad right now.
So I appreciate those words of wisdom, but I know you got some other words.
You beat Buffalo because you had Deshaun Watson. That's all I can tell you.
Right. So I know you got. What do you have on the Hall of Fame stuff, Jackson? This is all about you, buddy. Your moment to shine. This was Jackson's requested section.
I have nothing really to talk about with the hometown heroes in terms of my Dallas Cowboys, because my Dallas Cowboys, of course, are not in the playoffs. Didn't make it, but we have some other things to talk about. So the Hall of Fame committee elected has finalized its list for those added to the class of 2020. Now, this 2020 class is a special class. It's called the Centennial class, aka the 100th class. For the 100th year of the NFL being around, so they have extra people. Usually, they only do about 5 or 6 every year. This one's going to be 20. That's 15 names. 5 names will be added and during selection Saturday, right before the Super Bowl takes place. So we'll find out those 5 modern era people to be added. These are people not of the modern era, but are new members. So this inductee list is going to be quite big. So I'm going to go over the list here real quick, and then I'm going to talk to you about one of the members. Members include Jimmy Johnson, Bill Cowher, Steve Sable, Paul Tagliabue, George Young, Harold Carmichael, Jim Covert, Bobby Dillon, Cliff Harris, Winston Hill, Alex Karras, Donnie Shell, Duke Slater, Mac Speedy, and Ed Sprinkle.
Speedy and Sprinkle.
I had to put that one last. Okay, so we're going to talk about Jimmy. So, number one, obviously, I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. 2 Super Bowl rings. Brought the Cowboys back into America's team limelight after we had our success in the 70s. Didn't have anything going for 20 years. This seems to be a bit of a recurring issue.
Yeah, they're losing that right now. Like the whole America's team thing is really dying out.
Yeah, and until we get another dynasty going, and then we'll be fine.
Right, never going to happen.
You're right. But I have a bone to pick with Mr. Jerry Jones. Jimmy Johnson is not in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor for you guys, like in case he knows, and other listeners, I'm sure you guys know this too. But the Cowboys have a big Ring of Honor, as most teams do, around their stadium, right? Lists of names, notable people that have contributed a lot to the organizational success.
Right. The Titans just put Steve McNair and Eddie George in this year.
Yeah. So Jimmy Johnson is not on the list. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, those are guys that are already all in, but their coach from whenever they were winning in the 90s is not included. I think just kind of it's like it feels weird that he didn't get included into the Ring of Honor before he became a Hall of Fame coach. Like the last thing that will happen to him, I hope, and it should happen, is that Jerry Jones will put him in the Ring of Honor. But that is not as good as the Hall of Fame, right? The Hall of Fame means more than the team's Ring of Honor. The team's Ring of Honor is special, and that's great, and that's fantastic. But the Hall of Fame is just kind of on another level. And the fact that Jerry Jones hasn't done that for Jimmy Johnson yet is kind of disturbing to me. I don't know. I guess he's just holding a grudge. I don't know what he really has to hold a grudge over him, because coach won him 2 Super Bowls. And I'm not here to put the words in Jimmy's mouth or Jerry's, who said what when or who of what or whatever. Whether if it was an argument over how to run the team, and Jimmy said, I won 2 Super Bowls straight, I'm going to do it my way. Or Jerry said, no, this is my team, I do what I want, blah, blah, blah. But I'm disappointed that he hasn't been included in the Ring of Honor yet, because he contributed 2 Super Bowls and he was a legendary coach. And obviously the Hall of Fame deemed it necessary to add him into the class for 2020. So he's got to be doing something right.
Right.
Anyway, so that's just kind of like my short little spiel, short and sweet, this week on my Hometown Hero segment. So but I just don't think it's right.
So I do want to say that I believe the way the Titans usually do it is when you make the Hall of Fame, they also put you in the Ring of Honor. So like they do them at the same time. So like for the Titans, I believe it's like, honestly, if you look at the numbers, the personal Ring of Honor for each particular team, there's X amount of players that are in it, and then there's X amount of players that are in the Hall of Fame. It's actually smaller, the amount of players that are in the Ring of Honor for all the football teams compared to the amount of players that are in the Hall of Fame. But anyways, I only know this because there was a lot of talk about the Steve McNair and Eddie George stuff coming in. But that's just how the Titans usually do it. They decided that Eddie and Steve weren't going to get put in the Hall of Fame, but they believe that their contributions to the organization meant they needed to be put into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
but so
the Cowboys have done it different.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, hold out hope, because if he does get put into the Hall of Fame, then like Jerry will probably put him in when he makes the Hall of Fame.
He'll get put in eventually, but here's the thing: it's gonna look like Jerry did it because he had got pressure that he wasn't in it before the Hall of Fame. Like he put in Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin in 2005, all three at the same time to celebrate the triplets before they were ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. Drew Pearson, who has not been elected to the Hall of Fame, he's actually the only member left of the 1980s All-Decade team, and Cowboys Ring of Honor. He got put in the 90s. He got snubbed from the Hall of Fame, so. It's kind
Got
of
you. So y'all do it differently.
And we do it differently, and Jimmy brought you 2 Super Bowls, man. Like I think he should be higher on the priority list.
He should.
It's not just any Cowboys player. I can get it if it's Roma or whoever hasn't been put on there yet, which I don't think he has yet. He might have. I could be wrong, but
do you think Roma will make it
in the Ring of Honor? Yeah, in the Hall of Fame, I don't know.
He didn't win you a Super Bowl.
No, but he's Jerry Jones's prodigal son. He'll get in there.
Well, anyways, now time for my part. I don't know how to speak English, but I can tell you that the Titans won their game, and I get to keep talking about them in the Hometown Heroes section. So, all I got to say about this game, Jackson, is this is what happens when you talk crap. All right.
Go ahead.
If you're gonna talk it, get hit, right? That's what happened.
That's right. You better be able to back it up. Big trust.
That's it. We got Earl Thomas out here saying stuff. All right. I think the Patriots just didn't want to tackle him. That's fine. That's fine. But what happened when you tried to tackle Derrick Henry? He spun you around, put a kick me sign on your back.
He sure did.
You got stiff armed twice. Used as a blocker. These are the things people are saying about you now, man. You are in the NFL Films highlight deal that they put on social media for that game. They have you saying that stuff about you were just going to come at it with a different attitude and you'd be able to tackle him and then getting manhandled. They have a clip of at the end of the game, Jackson, Earl Thomas talking some crap to him. Was like, what are you doing, or something like that. And Derrick Henry's like, why are you talking? I've got 200 yards on you right now. Literally what he said. He's like, I got 200 on you right now. He did. He had 200 total yards. Wild stuff going on. I think he had 200 total yards. Like if you include the pass catch and stuff. Yeah. Anyways. So I will get into my likes and dislikes for last week's game. I'll start with my dislike. That's right. There's not an S at the end of that. That ain't plural. It's just one.
Fair enough. Okay, what you got?
At the end of the first half, we gave the Ravens the ball at like the 10 or something.
Yeah.
Or the 5. Because then we even got them. We almost got a safety on them. And our defense was super soft for that series. Because they drove all the way down the field. Almost scored a touchdown. They ended up kicking a field goal to make it 14-6, which is a big deal.
Huge deal.
And so, I was not a fan of how soft the defense was right there. Although I will say Lamar Jackson made the one good throw of his night, was on that drive. It was towards the end of Hollywood Brown, in between like 3 defenders. Beautiful ball.
Oh, that was beautiful ball, beautiful catch.
Well, the ball wasn't beautiful, but the throw was good. The ball was still ugly, because he throws an ugly football.
Okay, Lucas.
I think Mariota doesn't, his football's not as pretty as other people's, but I like him. So not a knock on the guy, just looks ugly. Doing that. Anyways, I'll get into my likes. I have 4 likes for this game. Number 1 has to be Derrick Henry, first running back in history to have 175 plus yards in 2 consecutive postseason games, like in the same postseason. All right.
And the first one to run for a buck 80 in 3 straight games. Period.
Explosions. All right. He also was the quickest halfback, up there with names like Jim Brown and Le'Veon Bell, up there with all these big names. Eric Dickerson, like first one or quickest to reach X amount of yards in their first 4 games, or maybe he was most yards in their first 4 postseason games. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Awesome stuff. And one of those games, I don't even think he was the starter. Anyways, awesome. Just amazing. Mind-blowing stuff. He's going to get paid. Sadly.
Oh, he is going to get paid.
Number two thing I
Believe getting
liked
paid.
is I really felt like the Titans won all the big moments. Jackson, you watched the game. There was a 2-point conversion that the Ravens didn't get. There
Yes.
was the 2 interceptions when we needed to stop them. The fumble when we needed to stop them. Both of the 4th and inches, or one was a 4th and inches, I believe, and the other one was a 4th and 1, and we stuffed them. Coming into the game, the Ravens were 8-8 on 4th down conversions. Yes, Jackson.
I would like to input that technically the Ravens had 6 turnovers. Officially the Ravens had 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions. However, I would like to add the 3 times they had to turned it over on downs
Yep.
as an official turnover.
Yep, I believe
It's
it
really
should
hard
be.
to win a 6. When you hold a team, hold a team to 6 turnovers. I mean, it's really hard to win a game that way.
Exactly. And I mean, what do we say going in? Titans going to have to get some turnovers. They got 6.
It's exactly what we said. We said they start off the game getting an interception or getting and the Ravens come out rusty and slow. They're going to make a pay.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, if the Titans come up 14-0, they're winning this football game. What happened, Lucas?
They won the football game.
And they went up 14-0.
That's exactly what happened.
The prophets, oracles.
So we won all the big moments. Like when it came down to it, the Titans made the plays that matter, and that's how you win.
Exactly. Holding them to a field goal on that big drive where you said they were forcing the fumble in the beginning, towards the end, keeping them from converting key 4th down moments. Yeah. So what? Lamar Jackson had 500 yards total offense. He didn't score.
Well, once. Exactly. And there was some garbage time stuff. Like we went into kind of a prevent deal at the end of the first half there. So like all those yards all the way down there. He had some scrambles and stuff, and Lamar's going to get his yards. Like Lamar's going to do his thing. He's going to get his yards. But I mean, if you're comparing the quarterbacks from this game, like whose performance really mattered the most, like Lamar, who had 1 touchdown, the same amount of touchdowns that Derrick Henry had passing, right?
Sure did.
Or Ryan Tannehill, who had like 3 total touchdowns. I believe he had a rushing and 2 passing. Like,
yeah, being able to convert, being able to score and capitalize on those key moments.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, I feel like you can't look at all those stats, especially when it got into the 4th quarter. I mean, they had 70 dropbacks. Lamar had the ball in his hand every single play. No one else was getting anything. It was sad.
Yeah, they abandoned their game plan off the get-go. When you drop back 70 times, that tells me you completely abandon your game plan.
So you drop back to pass the ball 70 times, Jackson. You got 300 passing yards. That doesn't sound that great. 12 of those dropbacks he scrambled. He had like 100 yards or whatever. I don't remember what he had. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
300 some yards passing and 100 yards rushing, but
100 something. It doesn't
only
either
came
way.
out of it with 1 touchdown.
Exactly, 1 touchdown and 2 field goals.
Holding them to field goals in situations probably could have scored. That's huge too.
Yeah, we're big.
But it was big moments.
The Titans are big on bend but don't break.
Yeah, exactly.
So my third is the offensive and defensive lines. I threw those into one thing. The defensive line played a huge role in Lamar Jackson all night.
They made him uncomfortable.
He was upset from the beginning. You could tell.
He was mad.
You could see him. He threw his helmet a couple times and stuff. Like he was not happy.
And they never had to play from behind. They always had a lead.
Well, every game that they've lost, it's because they were playing from behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they lost 3 games this year if you count the playoff game. And in every one of them, the other team had like over 100-yard rusher, and Lamar threw the ball 30-plus times, I think.
Yeah.
But offensive line,
come from behind.
All we heard coming into this game, Jackson, was the Ravens are so physical. Ugh. They got destroyed on both sides. If you ask me, I think the offensive and defensive lines, like our offensive line, pushed them around.
For sure. Yeah, I can agree on that. I watched the game. It was insane.
So the last thing I liked is Ryan Tannehill.
You gotta like Ryan Tannehill.
I don't care if he has 88 passing yards. He had some rushing yards. He ran for a couple first downs that were huge.
Yeah.
He plays a big role in getting us in the correct fronts, getting us in the right plays for Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
And he hit a deep ball to go up 14-0 to an undrafted guy that came off our practice squad. He's been in the NFL for like 2 or 3 years, I believe, and he's been on practice squads the whole time. Like this year was like the first year he caught a touchdown pass. No big deal.
They
We
just
just hit him. We just hit him for like a 46-yard bomb.
completely beat the Ravens coverage.
It was awesome.
on
Just
that one.
ran right by him. Beautiful stuff. And Ryan Tannehill threw him a good ball.
Right
So,
on money.
I think he did everything we asked him to again. So I got to be happy with it. But anyways, the last thing I want to say for this next game, you know, Tyreek Hill's already talking the stuff, man. All right.
Oh yeah.
You got Kyle Van Noy for the Patriots talking, Earl Thomas talking for the Ravens. Now you got the Chiefs talking. Tyreek Hill's come out and he says, I feel like nobody can cover us. Man on man is easy for us to beat, and if you put us in zone, it's going to be even easier for us to run past you. So.
Ooh, excuse me.
That's fine. That's fine. The Titans haven't talked at all. Just wait till game day. We'll see what happens.
It's gonna be a good game, man. We got a really good pair of good games on Sunday.
Are you ready for take it or leave it, Mr. Jackson?
I am ready for take it or leave it, Mr. Let's get it.
So, for those of you that do not know, take it or leave it is a segment we do every week where I come up with around 5 things or so to ask Jackson, usually some cool little topics that have come up during the week or just some things I've thought up off my big giant noggin. So,
straight off the dome, brother.
Number 1, take it or leave it, Mr. Jackson.
Let's do it.
Bill O'Brien should be fired after this stuff. And I have something that you need to hear. Okay?
Okay. What you got?
Because this is some spooky stuff. This belongs on the spooky pod. All right?
Ooh, spooky time. Okay.
The Houston Texans have won the AFC South 6 times since 2011. That is more than twice the rest of the division combined.
Yeah.
In that span,
wow.
They are the only AFC South team not to reach the AFC Championship game. What?
To answer your question, take it. Absolutely. I mean, we just talked about him mismanaging games against the Buffalo Bills. He won that game because he has number 4. He came out with a great game plan at the beginning of this game. I felt like they did well, very well and scripted. You go up 24-0. You make the big mistake and to try and do a fake punt from your own 20-yard line, and that's what happens to you. You gave Patrick Mahomes some leeway, and you gave him an opportunity to get back in the game. I think Bill O'Brien has showed he can win you division titles. He can get you to the playoffs. But when it comes to the big games and the big time moments and getting you over the hump, he mismanages games. He's in over his head.
He would have lost last week, but Deshaun Watson bailed him out.
That's what I just said.
Or week before last.
Game. Yeah, they won the game against Buffalo because they had number 4.
Oh, sorry.
That's it. Yeah. And so I think, yeah, he has to be fired. It doesn't make sense to fire a guy. Traditionally, it doesn't make sense to fire a guy if you have 6 division titles in 9 years. But I think you just have to kind of look at the bigger, broader picture, and that's why I feel really bad for Texans fans, because you're going to have to keep him another 2 years because he doesn't have a draft pick for the next 2 years. He's probably going to win at least one more division title. Maybe not, but you're going to have to go through some pain and suffering before they decide to get rid of him, because he's going to say on his resume, hey, I got 6 division titles, and I keep getting you that much closer to the title game. Maybe we need this. Maybe we need that.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
I'm also gonna take it because you can't make those mistakes in back-to-back playoff games like that. These are the games that matter. The regular season games are not the ones that matter. The playoff games are the ones that really matter. The regular season is to get you here.
Yeah, and the AFC South is getting a lot harder.
I will say, management above him has already come out and said that they are going to keep him and that no one's getting fired. So, next up, Mr. Jackson.
Times, Houston.
Number 2, take it or leave it. Lamar Jackson deserves some blame for the Ravens' loss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about the quarterback position is you're going to get a lot of the credit when you win. You're going to get a lot of the blame when you lose. And I feel like he does deserve some of the blame. I feel like he got in his own head very quickly. felt like the Titans got to him and rushed him and made him frustrated. I felt like he was trying to do too much. I felt like he was really trying to make hero plays the entire time, use his legs and try and use his arm a bit. Um, yeah, he definitely deserves some of the blame. I can't say that he is blameless at all for that
Right.
loss. You're the
I'm
quarterback.
also going to take it. He did not look good throwing the ball. I haven't watched him a lot this year, so I might be wrong about him not being a good passer, but he did not look like a good passer the other night.
He had a bad game. Even though he had good stats, he had a bad game.
Yeah, like did not look good. Number 3, Mr. Jackson, take it or leave it. We should expect more from Deshaun Watson than what he gave us in last weekend's game.
I almost want to say leave it just because he got you up 24-0. I feel like there were some bad coaching decisions that put him in a bad hole, and put their defense on some bad ends of the field. Yeah, he could have done a lot better in the second half. That's for sure. But I mean, you're only going to outduel Patrick Mahomes for so long. I felt like he bailed them out of the Buffalo game. I felt like he put him in a really good position to win this Houston game in the first half, or in the Kansas City game in the first half. I don't know what else you really want from a developing Deshaun Watson, because he still is developing. As good as he is, star as he is in this league right now, he's still developing.
With a bad
in year
coach.
3.
Yeah. I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna take it because in the second half, you have to do something. You were up 24-0, and all of a sudden it's 28-24. Your defense can't stop them, and the only way you're gonna win this game is if you go out there and you make a play. And what do? You score 1 touchdown in garbage time, almost like the game was over.
Yeah. You gotta.
The other team scores 50 points on you. In the second half, they scored 30 points, and you scored 7.
That's definitely a problem. And some of that's coaching, and some of that's, different situational plays, and some of that's balls. But I mean, at the same time,
you got DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills.
Yeah.
You should be able to do something.
Went over 500 yards this year. Just pointing that out.
Yeah. Well, the Chiefs do not have that great of a secondary.
They don't.
So, number 4, Mr. Jackson. This is I meant to do this one earlier, but, I had a follow-up to the Lamar Jackson one.
Oh, okay.
So, him.
Do
you believe, take it or leave it, Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback?
Depends on what you define as elite. I feel like top 10. I feel like top 5 is like elite. I feel like top 10 is great, and anything below that's a good quarterback.
You put him top 5 then?
No.
Top 10?
I put him top 10 right now, because I believe I'm not going to punish him for the fact that he has legs. I feel like he's not as good a pocket passer as other quarterbacks in the league. There's quarterback in the top 10 that are better pocket passers than him. But because he has that dual threat ability, I'm not going to judge him as if he's a running back, or judge him as if that is a hindrance. He's a dual threat guy. It is a plus in his column. And as he continues to develop throwing the football and working from the pocket more, he's only going to get better and better. This is his first full year starting. And he's going to win an MVP. And he's a young quarterback that made some mistakes in this game. Tennessee got to him. Tennessee deserves all the credit in the world because they made big time moments and big time plays and big time moments, and their coaching was excellent. But I'm not gonna say he's not a top 10 quarterback because he can run very fast.
I don't think the reason anyone would say that is because he can run. I think the reason anyone would say that is because he can't really necessarily throw the ball as well. When you think of your quarterback going out and winning you a game, if you need your quarterback to come back and beat you, they're not going to do it on the ground because that takes time. They have to be able to throw the ball. And Lamar is definitely not elite at throwing the football. He is elite in his athleticism, His ability to run the football on the ground, make people miss, his vision on the field is wild. But for the stats that he put up, he's not necessarily like he could go out there and do that without the fact that people were just leaving his tight ends and stuff open a lot. I felt like...
Yeah, but that's part to do with the scheme, and that's part to do with the coaching, and then they're putting him in a position to succeed, and that's great. But I'm not gonna knock him points because you're only
Yeah, but you're
getting
not
passing yards because your tight is wide open. Well,
but you're not knocking him like you're... I'm not trying to knock him because he's athletic. I'm knocking him because I don't think he's a good passer.
That's
And the
where we
basic
disagree, 'cause I do
principle...
think he's a good passer. I don't think he's an elite passer, but I think he's a great passer.
I don't think he's a great passer. I'd say he's a good passer. I
And I
can't...
think
I'm
because he is
probably
dual
put him
threat,
top
I think
15.
because he's a dual threat, I think because of that, with his ability to throw the football with multiple 4-touchdown games this year, even a couple 5s, that he's a great quarterback. He offers you a lot more than what usually other quarterbacks do, and he's still developing.
I think he'll burn out. I don't think it'll last with him not being able to throw the football.
He's not gonna have an 18-year career. He's not Tom Brady, but he's gonna have a pretty damn good 8-year.
I don't think he'll last that long. Just because
if we're still here in 8 years, let's put it as a bet.
Just because I think that what they're doing is not sustainable. Once the defense discovers how to stop your running ability, then you have to rely on the passing. And then when it comes to it, he's not going to be able to win you the game, I don't believe, passing the ball. But that's just me.
Yeah, and I think you're biased off of one game, and that one game being against your favorite team, and your favorite team completely dismantling their offense.
The Browns destroyed them.
I think if you look at the scope of the entire year, he was incredible.
The Chargers beat them in the playoffs last year. Running, yes, generational in his athletic ability. But there are other running quarterbacks that have been able to throw the ball better than him in the past. Yeah, they can't run as good as him.
This is his first year starting.
It's his second year starting.
First full year starting.
And he's lost you 2 playoff games because he can't pass the football.
He can pass. Let's move on. We're going to disagree about this for forever, and we've disagreed about this for the past week and a half. But he can throw the football. He's fine. And he's going to get better at it.
I'm putting this down right now. You said 8 years?
He'll last 8 years for sure. For sure, he will be in the NFL as a.
Oh no! You can't say he will be in the NFL. RG3 is in the NFL.
I just said as a starting quarterback.
Okay, Lamar will be. I got you.
Listen, I jump off and cut people's sentences, and you'd be able to understand.
No. I understand clearly, Jackson.
Boom, clap back.
8 years. That's delicious right there.
Sorry, quarterback, 8 years. Book it.
Right. Anyways, the last one. No, this says in 8 years. You didn't say 8-year career in total.
I said he will last 8 years.
I thought you meant 8 more years past now.
Will he be a starter in 8 years? So he have a 10-year starting year?
Maybe. Are you wanting to say that he will be a starter in 6 years or 8 years?
He will have 8 full years starting.
All right, 8 years. 8 years starting. Anyways, last thing, take it or leave it. Drew Brees will not win another Super Bowl.
Oh, man. I felt like these past 2 years were their opportunity, and they were completely robbed by the Rams, and I don't put that to their fault at all, because they should have been in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and who knows what happened. This past year, they came out pretty flat against the Vikings. They didn't look like themselves. I assumed they were going to go to the Super Bowl and win it, just because they have so much talent on that team.
Mm-hmm. I think no Mark Ingram hurt him.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't want to shut the door on him yet, because I still think he has 2 more years left. And, there's a chance that the Saints can put it together. It's going to be so hard, though. I'm going to say leave it just because he can. It's possible. I don't want to shut the door on it. It's highly unlikely. I think the past 3 years, 2 years really were kind of his prime window to do it.
I'm going to take it. I think it's going to be hard for Drew for them to sustain what they've been doing the past couple years. When you look at the 49ers are just going to get better. The Seahawks are kind of rebuilding and getting better.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
The Rams are probably going to be in a position. I think there's too many other teams, not even counting the AFC. Obviously, the Cowboys are going to be a threat next year. The Eagles, if they get pieces back. So, like, I think there's too many hoops for them to jump through for Drew to get it done one more time. So I'm going to take it. That is it for Take It or Leave It, Mr. Jackson.
I love Take It or Leave It. It's fun.
Today didn't seem too funny. He seemed pretty upset today, Mr. Jackson, about this Lamar stuff. Jackson like takes this all real personal and stuff. I think he had an amazing, I think he had an amazing year to be put down in the history books.
But you're trashing him for you.
This is never going to happen again. What he's done.
Him off of one game.
But I think he's a bad passer.
I really think you're being biased.
I've thought he was a bad passer all year. I've told you multiple times on this pod that he was overrated.
Overrated in the sense of being an MVP every year? Sure.
His offense, their offense was completely new. They developed a completely new offense this year. Wait and see what the defenses do next year.
It worked for the most
Wait and
part.
see what the defenses do next year. Lamar will not be the same.
Is he going to be an MVP next year? No, of course not. You can't. I'm not gonna. Okay, are we judging him from the fact that Lamar Jackson is not as good because he won't be an MVP every single year? He's gonna fall.
No. I don't want him to be an MVP next year. But the way you're talking is like this year he's a top 5 quarterback, and next year he'll be a top 5 quarterback again.
I said he's top 10. I said that both times.
He won the MVP, but he's not top 5. Not top 5 player in the NFL this year.
That's not the question you asked. You asked, is he a top 5 passer? I said no.
That was earlier. I'm talking about now. This is different now.
Was he a top 5 player?
You want to get on me about listening?
Yes.
Turn your volume up. You good?
He was a top 2 player in 2020 or 2019.
He's number 1 this year. 2019. Yeah, he's MVP.
Yeah. This year he was top 5. Absolutely. Is he a top 5 overall? No.
But I mean, next year he won't be top 10. I don't think.
Maybe not. But that doesn't mean he's a bad passer.
That's why he won't be top 10. It's because he's a bad passer. Anyways.
We can disagree and move on.
So it's time for our tweets. All right. So
what you got for me?
For anyone wondering, you can find us on Twitter at Go42Podcast. All right. It's a great time. Please tag us in stuff. Send us some funny stuff. We like it. So, Mr. Jackson, do you have anything this week?
No, I don't.
All right.
I don't have anything from Twitter.
All right, so here's what I got. It could be from anything, honestly, guys. So Kevin Stefanski, the coordinator that is now becoming the head coach of the Browns, had to promise his kids a dog and a trip to Disney World to get them to agree to go to Cleveland. That is just a
dreary place, man.
That is just amazing. I don't blame him, honestly. Cool stuff going on in Atlanta. Their team's terrible, but good news, they're getting new uniforms in the next season. All right. I believe it was like 2003 is when they changed these uniforms, so they didn't really stick with them that long, but
yeah. It didn't seem like it was time for them to change, but I mean, you know.
No, I felt like this was kind of out of the blue. You know, they just wanted some attention since no one talked about them all year because they've been garbage.
Yeah.
This was really interesting. There's a report that Tom Brady and his family sold their house. They've moved to Connecticut, and there's a suite that his wife in Gillette Stadium sits in to watch the football games, and apparently they have cleared it out. So everyone be on Brady watch, because there's some stuff going down. Brady's making moves.
He is sending a message to the Patriots organization that if you want me, you know where to find me, but you have to take care of me.
Yeah. So Derrick Henry has thrown more touchdown passes in the playoffs than Carson Wentz.
Isn't that sad?
That is sad.
That is incredibly sad.
Last one, Chad Johnson has a tryout coming up to be a kicker in the XFL. I think that's awesome.
Because
it's
that's
funny.
All for media attention. Because I don't.
You gotta get some people. Gotta get some people to watch it. Hey, didn't he kick a field goal in a game?
He did. One time he did. An extra point or something. Maybe it was a field goal. I don't know. But Chad Johnson is a clown.
So that's 100%. That's it for our Twitter stuff. Remember, at GF2 Podcast, find some funny stuff. I tried to find some funny stuff this week. Jackson's going to come up with some stuff next week and not be a loser like he was this week, where he didn't have anything. All right?
I really didn't have anything.
It's time to get involved. Popped up on my radar. To get good, Jackson.
Other than like coaching changes or the Drew Rosenhaus dropping AB, newsworthy stuff. I come across that on Twitter all the time. All the
time. So you brought up the coaching change and stuff. You got any coaching info real quick to update us before we get into the recap?
Cleveland has hired a head coach, Kevin Stefanski, as we just mentioned.
Right.
His name. I probably butchered his name. I apologize, but he's in Cleveland. He was the Vikings offensive coordinator. He definitely had a lot of talent to work with in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He, when Odell Beckham, after his arrest, is taken care of, then I'm sure he'll have a lot of talent to work with in Cleveland. So we'll see. Rams have fired Wade Phillips. We might have covered that in the last show. Pat Shurmur has been named the Broncos offensive coordinator. He was a former Giants head coach. And Jason Garrett at this moment has been interviewing for the New York Giants offensive coordinator job. So no word yet at the time of this recording whether he's got it or not, but he did interview yesterday, and we haven't heard any news on that.
What do you think about the whole Wade Phillips deal? You think he's going to land somewhere?
Oh, yeah, he'll land somewhere, either as a defensive coordinator or he'll take a year off and be with the family and come back. But he's definitely highly sought after. Defenses he's been a part of the past have been really, really good.
Right.
I think Pro Football Focus had, when he was with Dallas, we had the second-ranked defense one of the years he was here. And then he went to Denver, and he had, of course, that legendary 2015 Broncos defense with Von Miller and Marcus Ware.
Right.
Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh, and the Rams.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised that they got rid of him.
Yeah, he has some really good schemes. They're probably just going in
So just a cool little bit of stuff that for anyone to take home and digest after you're done watching the pod. We're almost done. But apparently there are rumors after last week's game, or before last week's game, since leading up to the Ravens game, that the Ravens actually ran Dean Pease out of the coaching staff. So they gave him the option that they would fire him or he could retire. And so he retired. And that's why he immediately joined the Titans afterwards, is because he didn't really want to retire. He didn't really want to leave. But that's just rumors. Yeah. So I thought that was some cool stuff.
Interesting.
So recap of last week's game. LSU beat Clemson, the Titans defeated the Ravens, the Vikings lost to the 49ers, the Chiefs beat the Texans, and the Packers beat the Seahawks. Bad week, Jack. Bad week for us in picks.
Yeah. I mean, I picked the 49ers. I know I got that one right. I did have the Seahawks win, and they lost.
Yeah. You picked the Ravens, the Seahawks. You got both of those wrong.
Yeah.
And then I got the Vikings, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks wrong. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So
we did bad.
I'm now 70-61, and you are 78-53.
Love it.
It's pretty much impossible for me to come back now.
I have to get everything wrong.
Until we start betting on the XFL. We're keeping it going.
Oh my gosh. Casey he's like, Jackson, the XFL is going to be great, man. Are you excited for it? And I'm like, no, but I'll watch it here and there, I guess.
Look, there's too much NFL right now to be focused on the XFL. Anyways.
Yeah. I'll give it a watch and see how it goes.
So our picks for this week's game, and then we're also going to kind of give our keys or like reasons why we think that team's going to win, whatever.
We're going to go deeper into these games. Only
2 games. So I want to start with the NFC Championship game, the Packers at the 49ers. What you got, Mr. Jackson?
Look, the last time these two teams met, it was 38-7. Now, I don't think it's going to be completely lopsided as it was before. I think it's going to be closer of a game. I feel like both teams got a lot of good film out of that. Um, last time they met, Aaron Rodgers threw for 103 yards. That was it.
Do you know? Do you know what time of the season this was? Was this early on?
Week 12.
Dang.
This was week 12. So fairly recent. And the 49ers torched them deep several times. One example is they had a 61-yard touchdown catch from George Kittle. So he absolutely manhandled them.
He is a big man.
I predict kind of much of the same. I really don't see the 49ers losing this game. Their defense is playing incredibly well. Nick Bosa, definitely rookie of the year. Their defense is just better. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to pull out of his hat what he did last week. Again, this week, I could be wrong. But my final score prediction is 24-17 San Francisco.
So I have the Packers winning.
Oh.
Yeah, we're split.
Oh,
we're split. On let me put you down for Green Bay.
Now,
or for the 49ers.
Let me preface it. I would love if that bad Aaron Rodgers got back to another Super Bowl. Only because I would love to see a Titans versus Green Bay matchup because you would have Matt LaFleur.
That's right, Matt LaFleur
against this whole team. But I think the 49ers defensive line is too much.
So I think the Packers are going to come out different in this game. Okay. I think the defense is going to take advantage of. I think the Vikings laid out a game plan that honestly everyone probably knew, but they made it apparent last week. Their offense couldn't capitalize on it, but Aaron Rodgers can. I think what you do is you play defense. You do your best to not let the run completely beat you. The Vikings weren't 100% able to do that. I think the Packers have a little bit of better defense. But I think you do the best to not let the run just go 80 yards every play. And you wait for that moment that Jimmy G throws the football, and he will make a mistake, and you benefit off of the interceptions that he will throw against the Packers this weekend. Or fumbles if you get pressure on the man, or something like that, of that nature, right? And I think Aaron Rodgers can capitalize off of that. You run the football with Jones, keep the ball away from the 49ers, and do your dues, right? Score your points, low scoring.
Trouble is, I think the Niners defense can score points too.
That's true. That's why I also have on here, don't let that bad man make bad mistakes. Okay.
Yeah. He has to be superhuman, Aaron Rodgers, to win this game.
The Packers have to play a Tennessee Titan football game, I think. Yeah. You have to play defense, run the football, capitalize off your opponent's mistakes, and don't make as many mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. But I've got 24-14 Packers.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so we differ on that.
Okay. So last game, of course, since there's only two. Titans at the Chiefs. I will let you go first, Mr. Jackson.
Okay. The last time these two teams played, excuse me, was in week, I believe, 11. And the Titans won that game 35-32. Mahomes passed all over Tennessee with just over 400 yards. But Derrick Henry did rush for 183 yards and 2 scores. Tannehill led Tennessee to a walk-off touchdown, 23-yard score to Adam Humphries. And at the end of the game, they still had a chance to win, that being Kansas City, but the field goal attempt was blocked. And that sealed the deal and was the dagger.
I think it would have gone into overtime.
It would have gone overtime. Here's the thing. Tannehill in this game, and I told Lucas this before, he won the locker room during this game. Because not only did he throw the touchdown pass to Adam, but on the 2-point conversion, he ran the ball in.
Yeah, I think they did a read option.
And he ran his way in and got hit multiple times and took a beating to get the 2 points. That put them ahead by 3, which was hugely significant because if Kansas City did kick a field goal,
right,
it was going to go in overtime.
Yeah, people were walking out.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't think Mahomes is going to throw for a 400 again. I do think the Titans' run has been magical. I think it's been kind of unprecedented. They've been in playoff mode for a long time, and they're ready to come out and play. However, I think this passing attack from Kansas City, it's much more diverse, and much more lethal than the Tennessee Titans have faced in the past 2 weeks. Therefore, I think Patrick Mahomes will make his Super Bowl debut. And I feel like the amount of confidence that is oozing from both of these teams right now is going to make for a very intense, high scoring game. I predict Kansas City wins 45-41.
Dang. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So we're obviously opposites on both games. I'm so happy that you picked against us this week again.
Well, it makes it much more exciting.
The Titans excel when we are doubted. All right, Tyreek Hill's already talking. The Kansas City Chiefs had already booked their buses in Baltimore. They didn't think we stood a chance. They've been doubting us for 2 weeks. That's fine.
For a lot longer than that.
That's fine. You know, they're on this. Everyone's like, "Oh, Kansas City is on this big stretch where they haven't lost any football games. The last team to beat them was us. Andy Reid's 1-8 against the Titans. He's garbage in the playoffs." But it is going to be hard. All right. Last time we had to take a fumble back for a touchdown. We had to block a kick. We had to do all kinds of stuff. But I want to say that since then, our offense has been together longer. Tannehill has had a chance to be in there. Our defense is going to be healthier. We're going to get back Jayon Brown and Jarrell Casey, who did not play in that game. We are going to go in there and we're going to run the football up the middle against a defensive line in the Kansas City Chiefs that might not have Chris Jones. He is not going to practice all week. He's going to be a game time decision. Even if he does play, he's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to be able to run the ball on them. Their secondary is nothing compared to the last two teams that we've played. Tannehill's going to have a day. All right. And we're going to have to force some turnovers. The defense is going to have to make something happen.
Absolutely. You're going to have to make some kind of plays like that.
And last time we did that. And that's how you win these big games. You make the plays. And so we have to make the momentum changes. The big plays, we have to do it.
We talked about this road, Lucas.
We've beat Kansas City 3 times in a row.
You have.
2 of the last 3 times was in their home. Both times settled by a field goal, I believe. In the cold weather.
Yeah.
So.
We talked about this road, Lucas. We talked about you having to go to New England. We talked about you having to go to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew it was going to end at Kansas. It was going to go to Kansas City. I'm rooting for you, man. I just think the line stops here.
Well, look, this is what's going to happen. They're not going to run on us like they want to.
Of course,
because Kansas City wants to run the ball some. They're obviously a dominant passing team, but they want to be able to run the ball some. They're going to get Tyreek Hill's going to get a little cocky.
Yeah.
Probably get a pick off of him or something. All right, or make him fumble. I think Tyreek Hill's going to make a mistake. Every other player has made a mistake that's talked crap. And I want to end the pod on this, Mr. Jackson. Release Tannehill. All right?
Release the Tannehill.
That's it. Ryan Tannehill. Seeing him in your nightmares. That's what's going to happen. All you Kansas City fans out there. That is all.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening to episode 23 of the podcast, the championship game special, as it were, championship weekend. So we have NFC Championship and AFC Championship, both incredibly exciting games. I'm really looking forward to watching on Sunday. I think it's going to be a thriller. I really think that last game is going to be an absolutely incredibly intense. You can find us where all podcasts can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more, as well as watch us on youtube.com/Go2Podcast and find us on Twitter at twitter.com/Go2Podcast. Be sure to hit us up with some of the friendly tweeters, and so we can talk about those on the next episode. And be sure to leave a comment down in this comment section below, and we will read it right here live for you on the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.